Welcome back everyone, Oz here, and today I've got some r/AmITheDevil for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the posts, giving you my own opinion, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. Originally posted to r/relationship advice. Am I, 40 female, being the bad person? Boyfriend, 49 male, wants to host breakfast for his niece's family every month. Has been together for 3 years, and this is the first time I started to doubt our relationship. We're not living together, but planning to do it soon. My boyfriend came from a very dysfunctional family, and the only bond he has is with his niece. Last weekend, we went to his niece's son's 1-year birthday party, and he started to tell me that he wanted to see them more to build the only relationship he has with his family. The way to do it is to have them over at least once a month for breakfast. Later on, he told me he was anxious he might lose the relationship if he doesn't keep it. I have never felt welcomed by his family, and this idea really put me in a bad mood. Before, we only have them over for special occasions like Christmas and Thanksgiving. I told him I'm not comfortable with this idea and monthly is too much. They usually stay about 5 hours and typically a whole day on a weekend is gone. He said I don't need to be there the whole time and can always find an excuse to go out and do something else. That made me even more uncomfortable because why the hell would I need to get out of my home once in a while to be comfortable? So I said if he really wants to do it, I'd better keep staying in my place without moving in. He got upset at this and said, fine, I will just go to the restaurant with them and they will know something is wrong. After the argument, I don't feel right at the moment, even he apologized sincerely after, said I'm the most important person to him. I even lost the interest to see his family in the future and more hesitant to move in together with him. At the same time, I don't want to be the bad person who affected him to be close with his niece's family. And then a too long didn't read with no too long didn't read. I find it pretty sad that OP isn't willing to just simply take 1 day out of her extremely busy month so that way her boyfriend can feel closer to his family. Also, do you know what would fix, like, not feeling welcome by his family? A monthly breakfast where you're cordial and kind. Although, if I were to guess, I'd say that cordial and kind isn't OP's strong suit, and there's probably a reason why they're a bit distant and hesitant to actually form a relationship with OP. Like, OP's tone throughout the entirety of this is just me, all about me. OP was given solutions where, hey, if you don't want to be there for the entirety of the time they're visiting, then you can go and do whatever you need to for the day. But OP is so opposed to any kind of monthly inconvenience that they would rather just not move in, and the process of even the consideration of having a monthly breakfast coming across was suddenly, yeah, I just don't want to see his family at all in the future anymore. Then following up within the next segment of, I don't want to be the bad person who affects him to be able to be close to his niece. Like, really? You can't just purposely start a grease fire and be like, I don't want to be the reason why this place burns down as you're running towards the fire with a bucket of water. That's what OP's doing here. Her boyfriend just wants to be closer to his family and he's probably in his older age, being 49 and not having his own kids, just wants some kind of familial connection. But OP's far more considerate about themselves and losing 1 day a month. Good God. Like the fact that her boyfriend felt the need to have to sincerely apologize to her for having the gall to bring up maybe having a monthly breakfast with his niece is just, it's telling what kind of person OP is. Originally posted to r/AmITheAsshole. Am I the asshole for siding with my boyfriend after he punished my son for asking for money to watch his step-siblings? I, female 36, have been with my boyfriend, male 41, for 2 years. He has 3 kids, 6, 12, and 4, while I have a 16-year-old son. The other day, my 12-year-old stepson fell off the stairs and injured his ankle. His dad and I had to get him to the hospital and needed someone to stay with the kids while we were there. My boyfriend told my son to skip workday, okay, and stay with and watch his stepbrothers. When we returned, my son asked my boyfriend to pay him for babysitting his kids. I admit my son doesn't have the best relationship with his stepdad or step-siblings, but my boyfriend... Okay, I'm gonna just step in real quick. He's not his stepdad if you aren't married. Okay. But my boyfriend and I were shocked by this. My son explained that he had to skip a workday which cost him to lose money, and asked my boyfriend to pay him for his time. My boyfriend scolded him harshly and told him that staying home with his stepbrothers isn't babysitting, and he deserves no money for it. Plus that skipping 1 day of work won't do much harm. But my son disagreed and kept arguing with my boyfriend, saying his stepbrothers aren't his responsibility. My boyfriend ended up punishing him and taking away all his electronics, as well as canceling his birthday months away. My son fought back, talking about how unfair this was and asked me to get involved. I sided with my boyfriend because I really did not appreciate how my son used this family emergency to his advantage and thought he'd get money out of helping family out. My son didn't like where I stood in this conflict and accused me of favoring my stepkids to stay on my boyfriend's good side, while ignoring the mistreatment towards him. I cut the argument and he's become silent ever since, even refused to eat or sit with us. Am I the asshole for agreeing with my boyfriend to punish my son? So, let me get this straight. Both of you, both adults, had to take him to the hospital, leaving your 16-year-old son who had work that day to be forced to take work off unexpectedly to stay home to watch the kids. Then, when he asked for compensation because he missed a day of work, you accused him of taking advantage of a family emergency that you forced him into when one of you could have stayed home, and then decided to take away his birthday and his electronics for daring to ask for compensation. Because yeah, it is babysitting. And I know plenty of places that a 16-year-old would work at where a last-minute call-out would get you fired. So he put his job on the line, asked for compensation, and you accused him of taking advantage of a family emergency. He wasn't asked, he was told to. And in response for him asking for something that's honestly pretty fucking reasonable that could have just ended as, sorry, it's not in the budget right now to pay you, you instead go right for the throat, take away his electronics, and cancel his fucking birthday. That's months away. Your boyfriend's a monster, and by the time your son moves out, you're not going to have a relationship with anymore. Because if you're going to constantly side with your boyfriend on this, when he moves out, he's going to remember that. I hope your boyfriend's approval was worth more than the relationship with your son. Originally posted to r/AmITheAsshole, would I be the asshole public? Am I the asshole for not letting my daughter move in with me? I, female 49, have been married to Calvin, male 50, for around 22 years now, but unfortunately we're separated now and most likely headed for divorce. We have two girls, Lily, 20, and Bella, 15. They got along well for the most part, but had their moments. For the past few months, Bella had been coming home with new expensive items her father and I did not buy her. I didn't think anything of it because she has an allowance and babysits for money, so I thought she bought them herself. Around this time, Lily was saving up to move out and she had a sizable amount saved. She then began claiming that it was going missing, which I honestly didn't believe at first because she's miscounted her money before, and a majority of it was in cash. Things got worse until one day it turned out Bella was using Lily's money. I didn't believe it at first, but Bella admitted to it. Lily lashed out at my husband and I because she believed we were covering for her because she's always felt like we favored Bella. I tried to tell her it wasn't true, and she refused to believe me. She ended up taking what she had and visiting her boyfriend, who is currently helping pay for her apartment as they were planning on moving in together anyway. I later found out that Calvin had been actually giving Bella the money since he didn't believe Lily needed all of it, and told her to admit she stole it so he wouldn't take the blame. He admitted it to me late one night for whatever reason, but I suspect he was drunk and didn't mean to say it. I don't understand his logic at all, but I also found out he does in fact favor Bella, which broke me, since it means he played a part in breaking the family. I told him off and found myself a small apartment near my town because I can't bear to be around him now. I was able to finally get back in contact with Lily too after she refused to talk to me for over a month, but as of now, she won't talk to Bella or Calvin. Bella has been asking to move in with me because she doesn't like what her dad did, since she wasn't aware he was taking it from Lily. She realizes she screwed up and possibly forever ruined her relationship with Lily, but she says she doesn't want to lose me either. I honestly just can't bring myself to face her now, and I think I just want to be alone. I told her that I can't let her move in with me, and that she has to deal with what she's done, since not knowing doesn't mean she isn't at fault. She's been calling and texting me daily crying, and I had to block her because I can't stand the constant bombardment. Currently, I'm not talking to Calvin unless it involves Bella, and apparently, he had to take Bella to therapy because she's been saying concerning things, and he found a journal where she's been writing stuff that's worrying. I feel like this is all for attention to get me to give in and let her move in with me. Whether she's doing it or Calvin is because he suddenly wants to give up on her, I'm not sure. Either way, I feel terrible, but at the same time, I still can't bring myself to let her move in. I don't want to endorse what she's done, and I've come to love living alone since I didn't really get to experience it much when I was younger. It's been beneficial to me in so many ways, and I also fear losing Lily if I choose to let Bella in. Am I the asshole for not letting her move in? I'm at a loss, and I need advice. Honestly, it sounds like everyone in this story here is a victim of Calvin's. I mean, in Bella's case, she was just being given money by her father, and had no way of knowing that it was coming from Lily. And then when it was busted, her father pressured her to take the fall, and that's just kind of a shitty situation to put a 15-year-old in. Lily was then made out to believe that her younger sister had been stealing from her, and now couldn't move out because of what her little sister had done, when in reality, her father was stealing from her. And honestly, I was on the same page as OP here until the final paragraph. She's actively blaming the actions of her husband on her daughter. Her daughter had no idea where the money was coming from. And in my opinion, it doesn't matter if what Bella's doing is a cry for help or if it's real, because is that something you really want to gamble on? Like, even if it's a cry for help, what's it a cry from help from? That's the question, because Bella is willing to move out of a house and into an apartment to get away from her father. That speaks a lot about the mental situation that Bella is currently in and the kind of guilt or shame or perhaps, potentially, possible abuse that she's going through at the hands of her father. My next question is, was Lily aware that her father was stealing her money and then essentially scrubbing the serial numbers off and handing it to Bella as being anything but stolen from Lily? Part of me wonders if it comes down to whether the mother actually likes Bella and just wants an excuse to be rid of her, or has just really started to enjoy living on their own and wants to find any excuse or reason to continue that. But as per usual, I'm going to throw this back your way. What do you think is going on with this, and how do you feel about the mother handling it the way that she is? Posted to r/relationship advice. My wife and sister don't get along, and it's ruining my marriage. I guess I'm posting because sometimes it's hard when you're stuck in the middle of two people you love, and outside opinions can help see things more clearly. Thanks in advance. This morning, my wife and I got into a fight about the same old topic. It started with my sister inviting me to vacation with her family in Jamaica in the spring, and my wife was not okay with that, saying it makes her sad/angry if I would go on a beach vacation, leaving her 5 months pregnant and our son behind. I told her I probably wouldn't go, but I didn't see the big deal, as I think there's nothing bad about going on vacation with your sister without your wife, but she sees it differently. On the other hand, she goes to Germany twice a year even when I have to work to see her mother. I never say anything about that, but my wife even saw something wrong in my sister inviting me on family vacations without her. Says my sister shouldn't have been even making this invitation, comfortably thinking there's a real chance I'm going without my wife and kid. Kinda being negative about my sister again. Which brings me to the real issues why my wife wouldn't come to Jamaica with us in the first place. She doesn't get along with my sister. To be fair, my sister is a really difficult person. She has caused a lot of drama in the past, and there hasn't been a single person in my family, our own mother included, who had a period of not talking to my sister because she did something crazy. When my wife and sister did get along, my sister would call her every day, many times, to use her as a personal therapist to dump a lot of negativity on her about her problems with my parents and her husband. There were incidents where my sister has caused problems, like at my wedding, where her room was 20 minutes late, and she started yelling the F word at the hotel manager and almost got us kicked out of the hotel. My wife apologized to the manager, and after 20 minutes of apologizing my wife did for my sister, we were allowed to stay. Things came to a big clash between my sister and wife about 2 years ago. My wife and I had an argument, and my sister tried to get involved to help me. My wife asked her to kindly give us some privacy to work things out between the two of us, but my sister went off on her for that. Started yelling. My wife tried to get away from the situation, but my sister followed her into the bedroom to yell at her. My wife lost it at that point, and they went back and forth saying bad things to one another. Ever since, they have not talked, and I'm honestly holding this against my wife. My mother has now tried to help things after my sister called her, but this has just opened old wounds. Despite my whole family wishing the two to get along, my wife says she wants no relationship with my sister. I'm of course free to talk to her and visit her, but my wife says she will be civil at family holidays and my sister can come visit anytime to meet our son, but doesn't want to have a relationship with her any longer. She says she's scared of my sister causing more drama and how that'll affect our marriage. Now, I told my wife this morning that I don't think this marriage can survive if she doesn't reach out to my sister to be the bigger person. I know my sister won't reach out to her as she doesn't think she did anything wrong, but that's just how my sister is. My sister doesn't have that insight about her own behavior, and we all know that about her and my family, so it would have to come from my wife to make things up. But my wife doesn't want to, and I'm afraid that I will start resenting her for it to the point of our marriage falling apart. Why can't my wife be the bigger person, as we all know my sister won't? I'm blaming my wife for the situation, which is sad as we have a beautiful child and one on the way. I just don't get why my wife can't jump over her own shadow for me to make me happy. I told her how much happier it would make me if she would get along with my sister again. But she keeps saying she's scared of my sister and that she had the right to choose for herself who is healthy for her and who isn't. I think this is selfish on her end. I told her it doesn't matter if my sister is right or not, just that we all get along and to be the bigger person. My sister is pretty much the only argument point in my marriage. Other than that, my wife and I get along great, have lots of fun and love each other. We have an amazing kid. My wife is also not a jealous person who wants to cut me off from my family. There have been times where my sister wanted to cut me out of her children's life. One time because I let my nephew eat chocolate chip pancakes on a camping trip and he wasn't allowed to. My wife back then has spent a lot of time trying to fix the issues, so my sister would forgive me and let me see my nephew again. My wife has also spent a lot of effort mending my relationship to my dad after his last visit, as I felt very disappointed in him for not spending more time with our son. She also always tells me to call my parents more often, so she's not a jealous person trying to cut me off from my family as one might think reading this. It's not the impression I got. I have also made sacrifices for her, such as quitting my job after her dad died so she can be closer to her family. We couldn't move closer to her mom, and I didn't find work there. So I'm wondering if I'm in my rights to ask this sacrifice from her. Anybody been in this situation before? Okay, so there is a lot here. First thing I want to approach is the trip. There is a massive difference between your sister wanting to vacation in Jamaica for fun while your wife is pregnant, and your wife going to visit her mother in Germany. One is visiting family, the other is going on vacation. Not to mention you're vacationing to Jamaica while she's left home alone pregnant while also watching your child. So the stakes are a bit different between those two comparisons. The next point, your sister is fucking messy. And the fact that you're trying to pressure your wife to be the bigger person and admit that she was wrong or try to apologize when, she probably has every right to be upset with your sister, and your sister just gets a fucking blanket pass over all of her bad behaviors because that's just how she is and we all know that. Dude, you're infantilizing your sister and her bad behavior because, why not? It sounds like your wife has given your sister plenty of leeway and plenty of room, and tried to even be her active therapist for some fucking reason, even acting as a middle person between you and your sister when things went wrong, or acting as a middleman between a hotel and your sister when things went wrong. So she's probably just fucking tired of always having to juggle the drama, and by her being the bigger person and apologizing to your sister or making amends or whatever only invites there to be another incident of drama where she has to then, once again, be the bigger person and repeat this shit over and over again because your sister is just allowed to be messy with no accountability? That's not fair to your wife. Come on, dude. Also, just as a general note that I want to make, if I had an argument with someone in my home and I was like, you know what, I need to take a step away, and I go to my room and they follow me there, that is a huge no. That is a massive red flag. Your wife has also made it crystal clear that she doesn't want to be the bigger person and make amends with your sister because she's afraid of her. She knows that continuing the cycle of things boiling up and tensions getting high and then having to simmer back down and just, going through that loop back and forth is not just going to eat at her mental health, but also just continually adding to the drama of it and just make the relationship in your marriage unstable, because it's just going to be a daily cycle of drama that honestly isn't needed. And she's probably realized that she can just avoid it by not making amends with your sister and just keeping her at arm's length. Because it's really unfair that you're blaming your wife for not wanting to go through this song and dance over and over again when your sister gets a free pass because, that's just how she is. Originally posted to r/amIwrong. Am I wrong for telling my daughter I don't need her approval to date or bring someone over to my house? My ex-wife and I divorced a couple years ago after her affair. She's now married to her affair partner. Although this whole ordeal really hurt me, I'm thankful that the affair partner is a good stepdad to my daughter, who's currently 15. Over the past couple of years, I haven't been interested in having long-term relationships, but only short flings. I am upfront with all my partners about my situation, and I currently have 3 partners who come over to my house occasionally. The issue is my daughter has recently started asking if I could only see one partner, and that having multiple partners is unethical. She says it's tough for her to form a bond with them. I've told my daughter multiple times it isn't necessary to form a bond with them, but just let me know if they're disrespectful to her. However, last night my daughter again brought this up. That's when I lost my cool and told her it's none of her business who I date or bring over to my house. I told her it's hypocritical of her to talk to me about this while she has a good bond with her stepdad. She knows her mom had an affair with her stepdad. Her mom herself confessed to us. My daughter got quiet after that and didn't say anything and left. Was I wrong for what I said? Look, dude, if you want to have multiple partners and multiple flings, you do you, but you should probably leave your daughter out of it and at least have the decency to wait until she's out of the house, because she's expressed to you that she finds this to be unhealthy for her and asks that you at least keep it down to one partner. Which, honestly, your daughter asking for a healthy environment for her to finish high school in is a fairly reasonable request. Also, my assumption would be is that you probably have split time, week on, week off. It's pretty normal for most divorce situations. So why not just only have your flings over when your daughter's not there? Like, there are so many things you can do to provide a stable and healthy environment for your daughter, but right now, weirdly enough, you're kind of just showing your daughter that she has a more stable environment with your wife and her affair partner. Like, is that really the impression you want to give, man? I doubt it. But that's the impression you've given me by your own words. So think about it. Originally posted to r/AmITheAsshole. Would I be the asshole if I transfer all of my money out of my savings account back into my checking account and maybe even dissolve the savings account altogether? I, 23 male, that makes sense, currently live at home with my parents. I work full-time as a veterinarian assistant and have actually acquired quite a bit of money from a combination of walking to my job, smart spending on my part, and having only a few monthly expenses. Ever since last year, my parents have been trying to convince me to open a savings account and put most of my money in the account, something which I've been quite reluctant to do. For reference, when I was a teenager, I spent all the money in my account without knowing it, and that kind of had a bad effect on me. So I've tried to be more financially responsible. I used to have over $30,000 in my checking account before yesterday. Last week, my mom made an appointment with a financial advisor that me and her would attend together, which we attended today. I wanted to put no more than $1,000 in my savings account, but both my mom and the financial advisor advised against that, saying that it wouldn't be a whole lot, that I wouldn't get much interest from that, and that having so much money in my checking account made me at risk for fraud. I held firm for most of the meeting and even briefly lost my temper on my mom. Don't worry, I didn't hurt her. But eventually, I caved and allowed them to make a savings account and put $20,000 into the savings account, meaning that I now have $10,000 in my checking account, though I can transfer funds back to the checking account. I'm ashamed of myself for not standing my ground. I could have ended the meeting at any time, and yet I stayed and allowed my mom and the financial advisor to gang up on me. Mom seems to think I've gotten over it, but I haven't. Now I have less money in my checking account despite the fact that I'm about to have a filling in a crown, which is going to cost around $600 with insurance. I'm royally pissed at my mom and am seriously questioning if $40 in interest every month is seriously worth having less money in my checking account. I'm seriously thinking about transferring all my funds back into my checking account without telling my parents, and maybe even dissolving the account altogether. I'm also considering making a complaint against the financial advisor. Would I be the asshole if I do this? So my guess would be is the reason why he made it into r/AmITheDevil is 1, because he's kind of just being ridiculously stubborn, and 2, he admitted to losing his temper at his mother, but added a little comment of, I didn't hurt her. Physically or emotionally, because it definitely begs the question if you had to add the disclaimer there, that you definitely did something that was worth note. Also, listen to the financial advisor, a savings account is a good idea, and plus since like 2020, you're now allowed to make more than 6 saving transfers per month. So, you have no limits to how often you can move money. If you really need to move money into your checking account, literally just open up your banking app, move the money, and use your card. Having $30,000 on a debit card just sitting and floating around is just a recipe to no longer have money. Now, this is not financial advice, but this is what I do. I have a savings account totally unconnected from any other banking account that I use for just depositing lump sums of money for emergencies. I have my other savings account that's attached to my Wells Fargo account, then I have my checking account, then I have a second checking account with its own card that is specifically for my monthly bills. So I refill that one checking account with exactly how much money I need for that month, so that way all my monthly bills are handled and I don't have anything to worry about. Then the other checking account is just so that way I can have a little bit of free spending money. And then the savings account is just savings. That's what I've started doing. Now, this is not financial advice. This is just an idea of, one way to organize your finances a little bit. And it's made my life a little bit easier, that's for damn sure. But having all your money in one account is just a recipe for incoming disaster. And locking away in a savings account where you can pull from it at any time, where your money is making money for you, even if it's just $40 a month, is still really nice to have. There's nothing wrong with that. I think OP just might be at that point in his life where he believes he just knows better than everyone else and just knows that having all my money in one area is just easier. It's less of an inconvenience, so why wouldn't I want that? But it boils down to the fact that OP is concerned about $600 draining $10,000 in his checking account, but not concerned about financial fraud that could drain all $30,000 from his checking account. In the end, OP should listen to his financial advisor, because I also don't know what the hell you're going to report the financial advisor for. He gave me financial advice that I just personally didn't like, so therefore, report it. And also, be nice to your mother. She's trying to fucking help you. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Bear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.